welcome to From Days to Years. We're so excited for you to be here. I'm here today with my awesome co-host, Heather.
Hi, Angela.
Hi,
Hello.
Heather.
Hello.
And it's just us today, no guests. We're the special guests,
Yay.
especially for you.
We love having just us. We love having guests too, but
We do.
sometimes it's fun just the two of us.
Just
Because then we just really talk.
Yes.
We don't have to throw a third person into the mix of, oh man, we're
They're
over.
looking at us like, boy, those girls talk a lot.
They're only halfway through their list of questions and it's been 45 minutes.
And we love our guests and we appreciate
We
them.
do.
And if
We
you want
really
to
do.
if you want to be a guest on our show, there are two series that we have. One, Working Mom series, where we highlight a mom who has an entrepreneurial business. She could also work in corporate America or be a stay-at-home mom.
Yes.
And the second series that we're coming out with, which will premiere in a month or two, is If I Tell You My Story. And that will feature a mom. Remember, all of our shows always feature moms. That will feature a mom who has a story to tell. And we're very excited about the stories that are going to come up.
Yes.
Today, we're talking about international travel.
My favorite.
And-
It's my favorite thing to do in the whole wide world.
She is an international traveler. I have only been to Canada and the Caribbean. So
I've been around the world twice.
Heather is going to take the lead on this.
In a week in both visits. So, I worked for an airline though. So there's my, it didn't cost me a lot of money. But yes.
But still, it's
I
neat.
love to travel. I used to, seriously, before I had kids, I always had my passport on me because I never knew where I was going on a Friday night.
Because you worked for the airline, or
I
because you
worked
just
for the airline.
decided just to go?
No, I worked for an airline and I would just go, sometimes we just went to work with a suitcase, not knowing where we were going.
Wow.
That was fun to do too. Yeah. Sometimes you just would walk through the airport and figure out which flights had seats and that's what you got on and figured it out from there. Yeah.
Okay, this is a sidebar. We always have sidebars. Did you have to sit in a little tiny seat that faced backwards on the plane?
They don't have those on commercial planes. Oh no, that was for flight attendants only.
Yes.
I wasn't a flight attendant.
So, I thought you were.
No.
Then what were you?
I worked in government affairs.
Oh, I thought she was
Yeah.
one of those people on the.
No. I worked in the corporate office. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
No, I would have been motion sickness immediately and would have probably lost my job. No.
Okay. Well, that cleared that up. So, what was your top 5, if you had to narrow it down, international vacations
My top 5 of
Yeah.
all time.
of all time, or top 10, whichever you know.
Okay. Let's see here. Well, my honeymoon, I'm going to throw that one out.
Okay.
We went to Nevis, but we bought tickets to that because
Wait, where's Nevis? Because I'm
Nevis,
stupid.
St. Kitts, Nevis. It's in the Caribbean.
Oh, St. Kitts. I love
As
St.
far as
Kitts.
You fly into St. Kitts and then you take like a little itsy bitsy tiny plane over to Nevis.
I do love Kitts. St. Kitts.
Then one time my husband at the time was very big into surprise trips. So we worked for the same airline. And so sometimes I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know the end game. Like I would go, okay, so we're getting on a plane to Paris. And that's all I would know. And I wouldn't find out the next until we got to the next. And sometimes we would tell the flight attendants because they'd be like, oh, where are you going? Because they need to know what forms to give you.
Yeah.
And I'd go, oh, I don't know where I'm going. And they would just be like, what? And then they'd get, and they're like, oh my goodness. And they'd all start trying to help me guess.
Oh, neat.
So that was when I forget, we went somewhere in Switzerland, but I can't remember where in Switzerland at the moment.
No, wait. Did you do the skiing thing?
Oh no, I don't like snow at all. That would be if I was
Isn't they have
if I was the
snow?
ruler of the entire world, I'd get rid of snow. It makes me claustrophobic and I'm a little afraid of it. I know. Like I my anxiety kicks in like I'm stuck. I can't go anywhere and it's cold and it's wet.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, no, I hate snow. Oh no. Go through my old Facebook pages. Every time I thought it was going to snow in Seattle, I was crying and whining and come help me, come save me. I'm going to leave this place. I hate it. Yeah. Not a snow person. You'll never see me on skis. My next favorite was my husband took me again on another surprise trip was to Palau. Out in the Pacific Ocean.
Real. So this is like a beachy kind of thing?
Yep. I didn't know where we were going.
What did you do there when you were there?
That was the first time he and I ever kayaked and the first time I ever snorkeled.
Nice.
And this is way before we had kids, so that was a lot of fun.
So you have pictures of all these things, so we can give them to
Somewhere.
me?
Yeah. My
okay.
husband has to find them. Yeah, they're in photo albums somewhere. Yeah.
Oh.
There was that one. Bali was fun, but I also have a love-hate relationship with Bali. I'm not. I don't. I forget what they're called. They're called something where people like follow you, trying to get you to buy things, and
Oh yeah, they have those
and I'm
everywhere.
just not.
They have those
Once I say no, I want to say no.
Yeah.
Like I know it's your job and that's how you're making a
Yeah.
living, but once I say no, don't follow me 3 blocks. Like that just drives me nuts. That's a little too much for me.
That is sometimes when we go on cruises and we're on the Caribbean
Yes.
beaches, sometimes you get that a lot. And I will say on our last cruise that we went on, people were very respectful and we
Yes.
told them no and they stopped. But I've been on other cruises like
They just
sometimes in the
don't.
Bahamas
Right.
and
this
it's
is
like
one
we
guy
had to
every
call
single day. He
a police
just
officer.
the same thing. He wanted me to buy something that was made out of a cow's bone, and I was like, oh my goodness, no.
Yeah, see, that's not cool.
That was in Bali. I've been to Bali twice because I don't know. It wasn't the plan to go on a baby moon, but it just happened to be. We went for Thanksgiving one year because I was pregnant and we were in between houses, and so we went and did that. Hong Kong is always a favorite of mine. I just
Really?
love Hong Kong.
What is it about Hong Kong that you
Well,
love so much?
the food.
Oh, wait, okay.
The
That makes
food.
sense.
The shopping is amazing.
Tell me about the shopping.
Well, it's just cheap. Like it's really cheap. My husband liked to get dress shirts made there,
Yeah.
suits made there because you can get it made like in 2 or 3 days.
Hand tailored.
Yeah.
For
And
your body.
He's got odd measurements, so it works out really well for him. And I love the Star Ferry. It's like I don't know. I mean, I haven't done that ferry in a long time, but it used to be almost like a quarter US dollars.
Yeah.
It took you from one end of the harbor to the other end of the harbor. And it was just amazing to be on with all these different people and cultures. Oh, I just loved it.
Because Hong Kong is like a major city, so you'd
It's a
see people from
major
all over
city.
Asia,
Yes.
from all over
And
the world.
everybody,
really.
because of at one point they were a British colony,
Oh.
the majority of the people, haven't been there a long time, but spoke English.
Okay.
So that made it really easy to go and converse. We went to Beijing.
Beijing, okay.
Beijing was fun. I really liked Shanghai. Went to Shanghai with a friend. We had a good time just walking and walking and walking. 2 totally different cities.
Yeah.
Beijing just felt like you were in China, and Shanghai you could almost be like in Europe.
Really?
Yes, very different.
Ah.
I do love Canada.
I love Canada.
I love Canada. I love Boxing Day. It's one of my favorite things.
I love
Shopping
Toronto.
holidays. And then I will always say yes to London.
I've never been to London.
Love London. My husband's kind of over. He goes there a lot, but I'm like, how can you be tired of London? You've got everything in London. Anything you want to eat, you've got in London.
Because there's lots of different cultures.
Cultures, all the different. Oh, again, everything for me always comes back to food.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is why we're together.
Yeah, Spain. I mean,
Actually,
granted,
while
I
we're
don't
all
even
together, our whole
know-
team loves food.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's a place that I would say I would never go to again.
Okay.
Like maybe like, oh, I've been there, I don't need to go back.
Okay.
But I feel like everybody should do it. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I have any place that I would say don't go.
Okay.
I really don't.
And what are your trips coming up?
So we have a family trip that's just to Georgia, but my husband and I and the kids are going to Costa Rica in December.
Yeah. And have you been to Costa Rica before?
I have never been to Costa Rica.
okay.
And we're doing 2 different places. We're doing like the beachy side, and then we're doing up in the mountains or something. Like I haven't done a lot of research. So if you're like, oh my gosh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I have done 0 research. We just booked our places to stay.
But you have plenty of time.
We have plenty of time. It's Christmas. This will be the first time too where we've taken the kids and gone away at Christmas, and not to be with family, but we're just going to be gone for Christmas.
Just the 4 of you.
Just the 4 of us.
No 11 people.
Nope. We're very excited.
Yeah.
And then we're hoping to do a trip to Turkey in October. It's on the calendar.
The turkey thing kind of a little bit.
I know. My husband, we've done some crazy places, so I'm not going to lie. He at one point tried to get me to go to Ethiopia on my own.
On your own.
On my own. He was in South Africa for a trip.
Yeah.
And we were trying to find a way for me to get down there. At one point, the cheapest way is to go to Ethiopia. And he goes, oh, yeah, and you only have to stay there for 2 hours.
I'm sorry.
2 days.
I didn't turn my phone off. Just 1 second. I thought I did. Bad me. Go ahead.
So he was, and that's a place actually I've always wanted to go to is Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Because one, they have amazing coffee.
Yes, they do.
And every time he goes, well, I don't think he has a reason to ever go back, but every time he used to go, he'd bring back just coffee because they have like a version of Starbucks. I cannot think of the name of it.
Yes.
And I used to be able to order it off of Amazon, and it literally came from Ethiopia because it would come through Europe on Amazon. It would take like 2 weeks, and it was the best coffee.
So I used to have, when we lived in Georgia, I had a good friend,
Yeah.
and she was from Ethiopia. And she made coffee. So this is stupid me. I'm not stupid, but I was stupid in this
You just
way.
didn't know.
I didn't know.
You didn't know.
I didn't know coffee beans were green.
Yes. Yes,
They're green.
they are. They're green.
So we were at a baby shower because
Yeah.
I had like 4 baby showers. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I
People
think
wanted to throw you baby showers.
I was
excited.
they were excited. And I was so long. So Reggie and I were married 11 years before we had
Yeah.
Izzy. So I think people were like, it's about time. So that's why we had 4 baby
It's
showers.
supposed to happen.
So she was at one of the baby. Thank you. She was at one of the baby showers that my in-laws were hosting, and she made coffee. And so she got these green things. I'm like, oh, what's that? She's like, it's coffee. I'm like, oh. So she took the green beans and she literally roasted the coffee
Yes.
in the kitchen, and it was this amazing smell.
So there was a place in Seattle. It was kind of like a big warehouse area where I used to live. It was in the valley, Kent Valley, if you're from Seattle. And she worked in the, but you would drive through there and you didn't even have to have your windows down. You just smelled the coffee roasting because that's where Starbucks and Seattle's Best and all the
Yeah.
roasted their coffee was in this little area. Oh my goodness, it smelled so good.
That's amazing.
So good. But yeah, you learn a lot about coffee living in Seattle if you talk to the right people.
And
But yeah, it's amazing.
I love, and I need to get back in contact with her because I think she started a coffee company. Yeah, so I need to get some coffee sent.
We need to,
Maybe we could do that for one of our shows, just talk about coffee.
Yes, coffee.
And maybe bring someone who knows like
the
coffee.
coffee. There's
That would be
gotta be
good.
maybe from our new favorite coffee place.
Maybe we can even bring them on. Just then we can get Jessie. Call
Yeah.
Jessie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe so. But also Ethiopia, you mentioned that. She actually used to make her own cheese.
Ooh.
Like everything was fresh. Like she didn't eat out a lot, even though she worked for a hotel and she worked like in the kitchen.
But she knew how to do it.
She did. So she didn't eat out a lot, but whenever I went to her home, everything was freshly prepared with fresh ingredients. Like literally would take her hours to make everything. And it was so good. Like I love Ethiopian food.
I do love Ethiopian food. Yes.
So it's so good.
Yes. We had a little Ethiopia. I don't know. It was called something. I don't remember the name in Seattle, and it had some Ethiopian restaurants.
Yeah.
But that's where I go. In Seattle, you really could almost eat almost every culture.
Wow.
Because there was an Afghan place.
Really?
Oh, yes, the best lamb.
I miss real food. We don't have that where we live.
No,
You have to drive.
You have to drive. I keep hoping more stuff's going to come in because there's a lot of development going on. So I'm hoping.
But they keep putting out commercial restaurants.
I know.
Not that I'm
And there's
completely
nothing wrong with them, but I mean, sometimes it's fun to have Afghan.
Or Ethiopian or Chinese or Thai or Filipino or I'm just saying
Hawaiian.
Hawaiian?
No, Hawaiian. Wait, Melissa told me she makes real Hawaiian food, so I'm hoping
Who?
Melissa from our dance.
She does?
Yes.
She's not Hawaiian.
She's from Hawaii.
She is?
She said she was. I thought she did.
She's Filipino.
Yeah, but a lot of Filipinos live in Hawaii.
They do?
Oh, yes.
Okay, we need to talk about this. Someone's been holding out information on food from me, and I find that offensive.
Yes, because we were talking about, I can't think of what it's called now, but we were talking about, because she used to live outside of Seattle too, and we were talking about the best Hawaiian restaurants. She goes, oh, I make Kahlua pork.
Okay,
This
Melissa,
is why we're friends.
we need to have a conversation about you and this pork.
Where's Chelsea? We need Chelsea because they're neighbors. I know. She could cook for us too. Because that's a long process making the pork dish.
Yes.
Yes. Because my husband went to a Hawaiian restaurant here and all they had was teriyaki. And he's like, this isn't Hawaiian food.
I can get that in a package of Publix.
I know. Sorry, but
That's
you
not
can't.
pork.
No.
That's not pork. All right.
Okay, so back to international travel. So I think we've taken our kids to London. They've been to Paris.
Yeah. When they were younger or older?
So the last time we went internationally with them was 2018, I think. Yeah, 2018.
So what do you suggest so how old were they then? How old were
That's a good question. So they were 10 and 7.
So taking 10 and 7-year-olds internationally, how long were you gone?
2 weeks.
What would you suggest? So you don't go by the end of the vacation.
So, I mean, we had a plan. We did a lot of traveling because we have family there. So we did some trips where we stayed with family and some where we stayed offsite. And we rented a car, which a lot of people will say, oh, don't rent a car. But in our case, we were doing a lot of driving. We were going between places and the train didn't necessarily take us to where we needed to go. And again, we're wanderers. We like to go off the beaten path. We were also taking my mother-in-law's ashes back to England where she was from. That was her dream, was to be released there. So we did that. So it was a lot but my kids loved it. And I will say it helps to have kids who are a little independent. So in my case, my kids have packing down. They had their own suitcase. I told them how
Wait, packing down?
Packing their own clothes.
Okay, packing down to a science.
Down
Gotcha.
to a science, yes. I
thought this was a new term.
No.
Okay,
They
gotcha.
can pack their own clothes. I taught them a long time ago how many outfits. We go with how many outfits do you need? And what constitutes an outfit? Pants, a top, underwear, and socks.
Oh, okay.
And I will say you need this many like cold weather outfits and you need this many warm weather outfits because I always misjudge England and think it's going to be hot in the summer and it never is. And if I pack winter clothes for the summer, then it's the hottest it's ever been. So you end up having to make some shopping trips.
Okay.
I always forget something on my own. I always forget pajamas for myself, but that's fine because those are easy things to go buy.
Yeah.
But yeah, my kids will do their own packing, and then they have to show me their outfits too.
That's good.
I make them show me, and I find outfits are easier. And then we do the Ziploc bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then they can just grab a bag. And then sometimes there's special outfits like, oh, I know we're going to have one fancy dinner out. That's this bag.
Yeah.
But we started doing it with camping because we were, one, Ziploc bags keep your clothes from getting really dirty at a campsite. And two, there's usually sometimes, again, nice outfits. Because we were going to be gone over 4th of July. And they were little special 4th of July shirts. So.
Yeah.
But we do that, and then after they've picked out their stuff, we put them in the bags, and then I will throw maybe an extra pair of pants or an extra shirt or a hoodie. Sometimes we go in with you know what? They're going to want to buy a hoodie, so that's what we're going to do on day one, and then they have that hoodie for the whole trip.
Mm.
But we also only pack based upon how many days we know in between being able to do laundry.
So do you get a place with a laundry machine? Or do you use laundry services or a laundromat?
No. So in our case, we went to London. We flew into Heathrow. We spent the first night there. And then we went out to family. Mm-hmm. And before we left there, we made sure our laundry was all good to go. Okay. And the next stretch was going to be the longest stretch for us.
Okay.
And then we had a flat that had laundry. But it was the first time I'd ever used a washer-dryer combination. Like an all-in-one, and that doesn't work.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. I won't ask.
The dryer doesn't quite dry.
Oh.
So you end up having, but it was fine because we just hung. We were there for 2 or 3 nights. Yeah, I forget. But like in those cases, as soon as I have laundry, I'm doing laundry almost every day. As soon as because.
But that's not vacation.
No. But I throw it in at night because I know we're going to leave there soon and I'm not going to have, I want to leave that place with all clean clothes. So that's why I say I'm throwing a little.
I don't want to do laundry on vacation.
Yeah, but we want small suitcases.
Okay, see, I'm one of those people. I'm like, we'll just take a big bag and roll it.
No, we do. Each person gets a suitcase, and you're responsible for what's in your suitcase, for pulling it. So, we do that, and we also like to get. Valerie will appreciate an estate car. I love estate cars. I want an estate car. It's basically a station wagon, but they call them estate cars there. And I love a good old-fashioned station wagon.
I love station wagons.
They're
for some of that age.
They're still a thing in Europe.
Neat.
Yeah. I would choose an estate car over a minivan or an SUV.
I love station wagons.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
So, yeah, my kids do too. So, we always try to get an estate car. But yeah, so when we do have laundry facilities, I'm trying to do laundry or wait till the very last minute.
Okay. But you plan your trips so that
I plan my trips so I can do laundry. Because then from there, where did we go? Then we had an even longer trip before that was our longest. Because from there we went down to Dover.
Okay.
And then we did a last minute trip to Bruges and Brussels.
Okay.
And then we came back to London. But then we also we have these old school duffel bags that fold up into a pocket. Oh. So when we go over, we're lucky my husband has elite status. We don't have to pay to check our bags. Okay, so that's a big money saver for us.
Yes, that's something I don't have.
I also believe in if it's a long trip to bring one carry-on because they will lose your bag. The moment you think they're not going to lose your bag, they lose your bag. So have an extra outfit. In my carry-on bag, there's an extra shirt, an outfit for the kids, an extra shirt for me and my husband, snack food, and anything that's valuable. Yeah. Like plugs, cameras, that kind of stuff all goes on board the plane with me at all times. Okay. Because I have a picky eater. And even if I get him the kids' meal that's supposed to be chicken nuggets, it won't be the right chicken nuggets. So I've got to have extras for him. Yeah. Because a cranky child is the worst.
Yeah, you can't have a cranky child.
And melatonin for an international flight. Because my kids already take melatonin too at night.
So if your doctor allows that, please don't think we're not telling you.
We're not telling you, but my
take medication. Okay.
Have a lot of anxiety about. It's hard for them to fall asleep. It's been a problem from day one. We went this route. It works. Yeah. But I'm also a believer too. Talk to your doctors. But because you're trying to get them to go to bed sometimes much earlier than they normally go to bed, because jet lag is a killer.
So we've Izzy's never had melatonin, but we've never been overseas. The longest trip she's been on is from Georgia to California.
Yeah, that's a
and
long,
her, but
it's a
she's
long flight.
it's
But
a-
that's not a lot for your sleeping
no.
schedule too.
And the hours have been changed, but she's been fine with it. But
Yeah.
we've never been overseas. But please make sure you talk to your
Yeah,
doctor
talk to your
about
doctor because
giving
we
your
were
child
going
anything.
from Seattle to London, which I think is an 8-hour
Yeah, we've not done that.
difference. And we were going out of Canada, so we were like, "Hey, we
Yeah.
eat. We're going to have our meal on the plane,
Yeah.
and I want you guys to go to sleep." My daughter did not sleep even on melatonin. She was too excited. She and I were both. We're the people who fall asleep on the tube and then can't figure out why we got off at the wrong train. That's actually never happened. We just fall asleep.
Tube meaning train.
The train, the
Okay.
underground
Okay.
subway system in
Okay.
London's called the Tube. And it's fun. We love doing the Tube.
Sounds fun. I like that idea.
Yeah.
So we have some questions for Heather.
Okay.
So should you bring cash or traveler? Do people use traveler's
So-
checks anymore?
I think people do,
Okay.
but I don't know that they take them overseas anymore. Like
Okay.
I find, and this works great for me, and I'm sure people are going to say something else. I will take a couple, maybe, because when you're going to Europe, you know you're going to spend a lot of money. I think I take $100 in U.S. cash
Okay.
in 20s.
Okay.
And take really crisp 20s because some places think, in other countries, they don't have dirty money.
Really?
No, they recycle it. They get rid of it and re-enter. They don't like dirty
Really?
money. Yeah. So if they see sometimes a crumbly 20, they might think it's not real.
Really?
Yeah. So
I keep
this
saying
happened
that.
to us in this happened to us in Tokyo. They wouldn't take a dirty looking 20, but they would take all the fresh 20s. So that's just a thing. But your exchange rate though, I have found personally works best if you take your ATM card
Oh, okay.
and go and get cash out of the machine.
Okay.
We try to get very limited. We only take cash out when we absolutely need it though, and we just use our credit card. But check your credit cards because some credit card companies charge you an international transaction
Yeah.
fee and some don't. And they vary because we have 2 different Citibank cards. One does, one does not.
Really?
So check. We also use, when we go overseas, we use our credit union
Okay.
for the ATM card, and we just keep the amount of money that we want in that account. We pull everything else out and move it to another account.
Smart.
So that way, if we lose the card, they're not cleaning us out.
Or it's stolen?
But our credit union doesn't charge us for using other ATM machines. And they refund us also for the bank that charges us.
Really?
So it doesn't cost us. So again, check, because in our case, we have a regular bank and we also have a credit. Check, because that can save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to carry a lot of cash.
I don't either. I lose
I
it.
tend to be a little oblivious. I'm not the best at, keeping track of things. And I've traveled a lot by myself. I think it's just that I am very comfortable.
Mhm.
And I tend to know exactly where I'm going.
Mhm.
I'm not the person reading her map book.
Mm.
If I'm lost, I'll go into a cafe, order a coffee, and sit down and refigure myself out or ask the
Wait,
waiter.
say that again, because I think this is a great idea.
If I'm lost in a foreign country, especially where I don't speak the language so well, I will find a coffee shop. Go in, sit down. It's worth the extra 30 minutes to sit down and maybe ask the waiter
Yeah.
or the cashier. Because usually if you're in a touristy area, they speak a little bit of English, but if you're pointing to something in a map, they know how to get you there.
Plus, you don't look like a target.
You don't look like a target, and you're getting to sit down and you're probably asking somebody who knows what they're versus some random person on the street.
And you can calm down sometimes when you're lost.
You can
Your
get a little
anxiety,
yeah,
and especially
yeah,
if you have kids
yeah,
with you and
yeah.
a spouse or a partner. There's a lot of anxiety going on. Just
a lot
take
of
a break.
Yeah. And my last time I traveled was the first time with my watch, and it got me. And the nice thing about it is I could keep my phone in my pocket, and it told me when to walking directions.
So you have an Apple Watch.
I have an Apple Watch.
So this is not an Apple Watch. This is like a
but
30 or 40 dollars.
does it feed to your directions? Though,
Okay, so I
your
don't
map?
know.
We're
All
gonna
I-
look into that.
All I use it for is the time and the date because I don't always know what date it is
Oh, yeah.
or what time it is.
But people make fun of me because I have to have the date and the time because I need to know, and I like to have my calendar, my next appointment
So
online.
I cut off all the notifications. I don't want to be notified of text messages,
Oh,
phone
I
calls,
get all that.
or any of that on this watch. I just want the date and the time. Is that ridiculous to spend $40 on that? Probably so, but that's what I wanted.
Oh yeah, no, mine tells me when the
I do not want to know who
mine
called me.
tells me when the garage door has been opened and closed, when my front door has been opened and closed,
And this
when my
probably can
washer
do
and
that.
dryer is done.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in my head with all the things that I do with PTO, with
Yeah.
this show, that I cannot do 8,000 messages. I don't get 8,000 messages, but like literally this morning, I had 30 text messages on my phone. I don't want my phone, my watch, telling
Yeah.
me 30 times that people have texted me. I don't. I'm tired. I'm good. No.
I'm the opposite. I'm afraid of missing out. I can't stand having unread things on my phone.
I don't mind.
It drives me nuts. My daughter has over 2,000 unread emails, and I offered for, just as a special surprise for her, I would clean out her emails for her. And she's like, no, it doesn't bother me. And I'm like, you're not related to me. How are you, my daughter? How does that not bother you? Turn off the notifications then. You can do that.
Which leads to me to another question.
Yes.
Safety and theft. Have y'all ever been burglarized
Nope.
or anything? Do you carry those, like people put their
No.
things inside their clothes?
I do
Or-
tend to wear more of a crossbody bag.
Okay.
And I will, depending upon where the pockets are, I might flip it around. Because I'm also one of
Put
those
the pockets towards your body.
towards my body.
Okay.
And if it's cold, I'll put it under my jacket.
Okay.
Yeah, I will do that. And I just recently got, because my daughter had one and I just thought it was super cute. She had one of those, the crossbody bags.
Oh, yeah.
So I decided I had to have one, and I love it. And I'm really excited for a trip so I can wear it for an international,
Okay.
because I like that I can either have it on my back,
Yeah.
which tends to be where it is, which I know is not safe, but I can slide it to my front.
Yeah, because it's going to be like right
Yeah,
here.
because I didn't like the body backpack, the crossbody backpack.
It's a little bulky.
Because
and heavy.
it's bulky, but it also felt weird when I moved it to the front.
Yeah.
And I only,
It's like having a third boob.
yes, and I don't need that. And I will also clean out my wallet before I go. Don't take all your credit cards, because you know what? If you have a Macy's card or a Nordstrom card, you're not using those overseas. Just take 2 cards. That's all. And I say 2 cards because you need to take your credit card and make it either an American Express, Visa, or MasterCard, because Discover tends to be, not everybody
I don't have a
takes
Discover.
that. Yeah, I know people who still have them.
I have a
And
MasterCard.
again, a debit card, because I just think that's the best way to get money out.
Now, do you guys use like the wallet thing?
I will absolutely use
Okay.
yes.
Have you found that safe and people haven't been
Oh
able
no,
to crack into it?
because the nicest thing is when we were, and this was back in 2018, in Seattle, it was really hard to use Apple Pay. I went to England, and like the smallest little towns were taking it, and it was so nice because
Wow.
I wasn't having to open up my wallet.
Okay.
I was just tapping and going,
Okay.
and I loved that.
That's cool.
Because it also, and I don't know the whole thing about it, but I know that when you're using it off your phone or your watch, it's using a different account number.
Really?
Yeah, it's not the account number that's on your card, it's a different account number.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, they change it up somehow. Yeah,
Oh.
I didn't know that either, but yeah, because I've used it before
Okay.
and gotten a receipt. I'm like, wait, those are not my last 4 digits. And then when I
Oh.
looked on Apple Pay, that's where it was.
Oh.
So again, I don't know the ins and outs of how all that works, but somebody once told me it was safer to do that
Yeah.
than is to pull out your card where they can.
Yeah.
Like, I think with the tap, they're not getting your swipe information.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But I mean, so yeah, I've never had a problem. I have heard of people though.
Okay.
And I mean, usually they said, oh yeah, I shouldn't have been over there at that time of night, really.
So is there a certain time that when you guys are out and about that you say, okay, by this time we're going to
No.
be in, or do you guys stay out all hours
we
of the day?
we stay depending upon what we're doing, but I mean, we are just very aware of where we are. We're not taking chances. We stay if it's a touristy area, we're around other people. And if we're in a local area, then we're around the locals.
Yeah.
And we've done that. We've managed to end up in a local area, and that was the oddest thing, because we couldn't read the menu because they didn't have English and they didn't speak English, but it was Spain and we ate fine. And there was lots of wine because they just kept bringing us bottles. It was fine. Oh no, that was Italy. It wasn't Spain. It was Italy. Can't go wrong in Italy.
No.
Everything's going to be good.
That sounds fabulous.
Yeah, I'm just not a veal person, so I always have to make sure it's not veal.
I like them.
I know.
Do you use travel agent or do you use discount websites, or do you guys
My
just...
husband does it all
Okay.
himself.
Okay. But he
did-
works for an airline too.
Well, he used to. He now
to.
works for an airport, but he
Yep, that makes sense.
he knows what he wants to do. And so I've tagged along on trips where he's there for a conference, and I've gone off on my own.
Okay.
And he always makes fun of me because I get a little book.
Yeah.
But it's because I want to hit the highlights.
Yeah.
Especially if I only have 2 days.
Yeah.
And I tend to and I take it really easy because I'll get up maybe 2 hours after he does, because I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
Go have a big breakfast, and then I'll go do what I plan to do for that day. But I will say, I learned this the hard way in Barcelona, is I didn't book tickets ahead of time, and it was really busy, and I didn't get into a lot of places. So when we went to London, I was all over it. Like, one, because we were there in August, and that's when the palace is open to the public. It's in August. And as soon as I realized that, my husband's like, but now we're tied to that date. And I said, how many people get to say they've been to Buckingham Palace?
This is true.
So we went, so I booked that, and I also was really big into getting the eye.
Yeah.
Their big, what is that thing
The
called?
Ferris wheel thing?
The Ferris wheel done. The London Eye. Those were
Thank
the
you,
two
Valerie.
things. We did them on the same day. And then after that, actually, my husband and my son went to some military war museum, and my daughter and I went and did the Hogwarts
Oh.
train. Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
from our Disney episode that we did and the cruise episode and also this one. Have a plan.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so
And this was
rigid
really our
that
only
you
real day
have
that
to
we
follow
did.
it every day, but
Yeah.
have a plan so that tickets that you want to go,
Right, those
experiences you
kinds
want to
of
go on,
things.
you can do that.
Because my daughter and I stood in line, I think, for 2 hours for the Hogwarts. And all you're doing is going up and getting your picture taken, showing you running through the wall. That's all it is. And then you get to go into the official store. But
But it's something you guys wanted
But my
to
daughter
do.
was really into Harry Potter at that point. So she has really, and I kind of overbought because I'm like, how often do we get to come to this store? So yeah.
And if you're going on these international trips, you want to make sure you get the most you can.
Experience, especially with little kids, because you do have to put, my kids will to this day tell you how upset they were that we never went to the M&M store in London. They to this day think that that's the only place there is an M&M store, and they saw it on a map. They didn't even like we walked past it and didn't go. They saw it on a map, and we're like, that is so far away from where we are. No. Now the best story though is my son getting lost at the Tower of London.
Oh, okay.
And we just kind of we're kind of, I want to say, off leash parents.
Okay.
You know, we let them wander
Okay.
to a certain point.
Sorry, my glasses are.
No, you're
funny.
fine.
It's not, not questioning you. It's my glasses
Yeah.
are pushed
No,
back too
and so
far.
when I'm in a museum, I'm reading every sign. I'm
Yeah.
looking at every single thing. I'm all into that. I was a history minor. Like, I love history.
Okay.
My son was kind of bored, and so he kept going and kept going. And I just kept thinking like he would stop when he got to the end.
Yeah.
Which would, I think that I was up on the top floor.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he did it, and he exited.
Oh, whoa.
And so then I'm the crazy American woman running around screaming my child's name, can't find him. And then I'm like, you know what? Not my problem. I was literally like, you're lost in London. This is it. This is the fall from grace for me. Where's the pub? I'm done. My daughter is really sad. And I'm like, but you wanted to be an only, like there was this 5 minute of, well, you wanted to be an only child. Here's your chance. And this is what he gets for not following directions. And I said, when you get to the end, you just sit. Because we knew there was a bench there. We've been to the Tower of London. We knew the layout. It wasn't like our first time. The kids had never been. But he decided he thought he was actually trying to jump us. You know, like where they come up behind you and scare you. That's what he was trying to do. Except he got turned around.
Okay.
And he's 7. So it was, yeah.
So where was he?
We found him. He actually, this was the mistake, is then he found the entrance again. So he was going through while we were outside. So, yeah, he would never do that again. He
No,
learned his lesson.
I don't
He's a
think
kid who
so.
learns his lesson pretty quickly. But you know, we've always been like a little like, okay, you can go to that part and then wait for us there
Yeah,
because you want to go ahead. And my daughter to this day says, he knows where every bench and seat is inside Buckingham Palace and every comfortable wall to lean against because he was tired. He used to hate to walk.
Oh.
So he would walk a little bit and then immediately sit on the ground. And that's what he did through Hall of Buckingham Palace. The whole thing. I was like, you might be the first person to ever sit on the floor in Buckingham Palace in that spot. I don't think the Queen has. Yeah. So, you know.
So how much? That is funny. And from now on, I will look at Ian a little bit differently. Not in a bad way, just a little differently.
He's my favorite. He is a fun kid to travel with, though.
How much should you budget? And this is going to be kind of
Oh, that's a hard question.
for a week for a family of 4. I mean, I guess it depends on where you go.
It depends on where you're going and what kind of hotel. Because on this trip, we stayed in some really nice places.
Yeah.
Because we got a 2-bedroom flat in York.
And those are Airbnbs?
No, we did it through hotels.com. They actually had some flats on there.
Okay.
And hotels.com does have like flats and stuff that you can rent.
Is that the normal website y'all use when you go overseas, or do you
It's
just
whatever
you
my
use?
husband tends to use hotels.com. He goes through periods of time where he does that.
Okay.
For our next trip to Costa Rica, he did is it VRBO?
Yeah, okay,
He did
yeah,
that
VRBO.
one, which he'd never used before. Before that, we'd always used Airbnb. But we also did we liked hotels.com because it had a huge range for all the different parts of England. And then we stayed at a really, 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 really inexpensive, cheap place in, I can't think of the name of the town, in South England near Dover, or Chaucer. What is it called? I'm looking to Valerie, but I can't think of the name of it. But yeah, this is going to bother me because I can see it up in my head. But
Tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up and be like, I know the name.
and that was just a scary place because we were supposed to stay there 2 nights, and I think we checked in and we're like, yep, we're going to only stay for 1, and now we're going to Bruges.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, we've done a little bit of everything, and all that was booked through hotels.com. So
Passport. How long does it take to get a passport?
right now, I'm hearing it takes a long time because I think, Valerie, you were 11 weeks for the kids for the U.S.
It was
No,
about 9 weeks.
yeah,
9 weeks.
But they were quoting up to 11 weeks.
yeah, and so my daughter's is getting ready to expire, and just so you know, passports are basically expired 6 months before the expiration date. Most countries will not let you in if you only have 6 months left.
Really?
So that's something to take into account because kids up to, I think, 16, it's only good. They're only good for 5 years. So I have to get my daughter another one, and here she is 14, and then I guess it's going to expire when she's 16. Or will it go, like, I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. But I always knew there was going to be this period where I'm going to be paying for something that I'm not really getting. But so I'm desperately trying to find her birth certificate at the moment, because when you're getting a minor's passport, it's like applying for a new passport every single time. They can't do the renewal process. So it's like a brand new passport every time.
Wow.
So if you're renewing an adult, you don't need your birth certificate. You're just turning in your previous passport, and that's all I think that's all the information they need. Whereas a child, you need every legal document you have.
Wow.
So she's going to need a new one. My son is fine. But he went to Canada on an expired passport.
Well, Canada's a little different. Because
Well,
we used to go, so we lived in Michigan, and
Yeah.
so we would go to Canada a lot. Like, I love Toronto, was my favorite
they
city growing up as a
changed it,
kid.
though.
Did they
Yeah,
really? 'Cause
yeah.
It used to be like, you don't worry about it.
No. Now you can't.
Really?
Yeah, they won't let
That's a
you.
shame.
You might be able to do it with a birth certificate for minor, but not for over 18.
Okay.
Or at least it was the last time because my son's was expired, and I remember calling up, and I was excited because I called the border crossing, found a random number, and so I actually answered the phone, and I said, "Oh, are you actually at the border crossing in Blaine?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, can I ask you a question? My son's passport's expired, and we're leaving for Canada tomorrow." He goes, "Well, the U.S. won't give you any grief. It'll be the Canadian side." And of course, we got ready to cross, and the Canadian side's like, "Well, we don't care. The U.S. side's going to care," and nobody cared. So, I mean, I kept going, well, if you want to keep Ian, he's a darling child.
Oh,
He'll keep you on your toes, but
that's so funny.
Yeah.
Any tips or tricks that you want to share with them before we wrap up about international travel? I know you have a lot. She has a plethora of information, and we'll have to do another episode
you
about
kind of
this.
just have
but-
to figure out what your budget is, because budgets are all over the place.
Yeah.
And sometimes I like to say, whatever you think it's going to cost, it might end up costing double.
Ooh.
Because
I'll be
Europe
sticking
is
to a cruise
expensive.
then.
The exchange rate is expensive. I feel like if you're going to go to Europe, I mean, you can do it inexpensively, but you don't want to do it cheap.
Okay, that's a good
And
tip.
I like doing the tours personally, especially if you've never been there. But my husband hates the tours, so I like to have somebody show me where things are and then go off and explore on my own.
Okay.
And there are tours that let you do a little bit and then off on your own, and then there's other ones that have organized your entire day.
Wow.
But if you're going to a place where you've always wanted to go, but you don't really want to plan it, I would say do a tour
That sounds good.
personally. But find a tour, because also I think there's lots of tours.
Yeah.
You know, it's like cruise ships. There's a high end and there's a low end.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you've got to decide what's comfortable for your family and for your budget.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We talked about international travel. We will, on another episode when Chelsea's back, we'll do road trips
Yes.
and traveling in the United States with your family, and talk about maybe some of the different states that we've all been
Yes.
to, some of our favorite states, some places to
We
go.
can almost fill in the entire U.S.
I
map.
think we can between the
Yeah.
two of us.
Well, and Chelsea's done
And
a lot.
Chelsea.
Chelsea's
Chelsea.
done a lot too.
We could
yeah.
definitely probably go over it twice.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please share, follow on all of our social media channels
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
and on our website fromdaystoyears.com. We enjoyed having you. Make sure that you're going from guilt to grace, from fear to faith, and from superficially multitasking to superbly managing your time. Bye, y'all.
That's such a mouthful.
It is.
Thank you.